You're listening to The Wine Crush. I'm Laura Lawson. Well, they say that no accidents truly happen, that everything was meant to be put together, and I would imagine that David Forbes is truly a man who believes that. David Forbes has created Accidents Happen, an accidental wine, rushes in and buys up unblemished but otherwise unbroken bottles that a retailer won't touch and then resells them over the internet for a third to half off the price. David wins, we wins, everyone wins. So let's get an idea from Mr. David himself on what this great idea is doing for him and for the wine world. David, welcome to the Wine Crush.
Hi, Laura. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
It's nice to have you. What a great name for a company.
Well, we stumbled across that name. We were struggling to find a name, and my son, who is one of my partners, was caught in traffic because of an accident, and he was sitting there thinking about names for all this damaged label wine that had been in accidents, and he thought, accidental wine, why not?
I love it. It's absolutely perfect. Now, I have spent 17 years in the wine business, actually more than that, 17 years on the end where I have to deal with damaged wines. What gave you all the inspiration to start something like this?
Well, I'm a huge chocolate eater, and I had a friend with a chocolate factory who also happened to have the third largest wine distributor.
I was about to say, is there a chocolate and peanut butter story somehow in the accident in the middle? No, okay, sorry, just had to ask.
Anyway, he had the third largest wine distributor business in California, and he used to take all these damaged label wines down to the candy store, the candy factory, and put them on the floor. And if you knew him, you could come in and rummage through the wine and buy some wine. Well, for years I was doing this. I would buy my chocolate and my wine together, and then one day the store was closed. The business was closed. And I called him up and I asked what happened. He said he had an offer he couldn't refuse. So my son and I went to lunch with him, and my son said, what happens to all that wine we've been buying? And he said he didn't know. So my son, Micah, said, we'll buy it. And the next thing I knew, we had accidental wine.
There you go. When he said you buy it, was there alcohol involved in that lunch?
Of course there was.
Okay, just checking, because I know I can see me saying, well, we'll buy it, and all of a sudden my dad looking at me wanting to slap me right across the table.
Well, I had my share as well, so there was no swatting.
Fair enough. Well, obviously, this is a great concept because we actually just had a question from a caller talking about the fact, is this wine bad? Is it safe to drink? You know, what's wrong with it beside the labels? And generally, absolutely nothing is wrong with the wine, correct?
Correct. We have, all these things get in accidents, whether it's a case that gets dropped and one bottle breaks and the other labels get stained, but nothing happens to what's inside that bottle. It's just on the outside. In the 2 years that we've been doing this, we have had fewer than 10 bottles, and we've sold literally thousands, probably tens of thousands of bottles. Only fewer than 10 have come back with problems.
I understand that. Actually, it brings to mind, I guess about 5 years ago, there was a train incident involving a whole bunch of expensive California wine that was supposed to be coming to me. And I wondered then, when that train turned over and it was an insurance write-off, what happened to all that wine?
Well, if I had been in business, I could probably answer that. But mostly that wine, prior to us doing this, that wine just was trashed.
Absolutely broken, thrown away in a dumpster somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a tragic thought.
It is.
Well, obviously you had your friend in the chocolate business. Have you reached out? Have you broadened your horizons? Are there all kind of wineries you deal with? How do you find new clients now?
Well, in terms of where we get our wine, we had quickly learned that we needed a lot more wine than one supplier could provide. So we developed relationships with some of the suppliers here. But as we've had a little bit of exposure and press, others have found us, and we're now hearing from, probably for the last year, we've heard from wineries throughout California, Oregon, and Washington who have wine that they want to close out at the end of a year. Their new vintage is coming in, and they don't have enough space to store, so they are looking for a way to move that wine. And because we don't undermine their pricing integrity, even though we sell the wine at big discounts, they'll come to us to pick up some of their wine.
Well, I think that's great. So on your website, do you advertise as is, not guaranteed, or how does this work for our consumer?
We are definitely, we definitely make it clear that these may not be beautiful-looking bottles, but that the wine is good, and we stand behind the wine. If somebody comes back to us and says they had a spoiled bottle, we'll replace that bottle.
So say our listeners, they want to find what you have. Do you update your inventory weekly on what's online? Hey, today a truckload of, I don't know, Kendall Jackson turned over on the 101. That's what we're selling today?
No, what we do is we sell in what we call blind packages of 3, 6, or 12, and in various price points. We don't know from day to day what wines will become available to us, and we're seeking wine all the time. So rather than put, I'll give you an example of Chateau Montelena. Instead of putting Chateau Montelena Estate Cabernet on as a typically $100 to $120 bottle of Cabernet, we'll sell that in a package, and it would be with 3 other bottles, so you can't really tell what the price of each of those wines are. Then the wineries are not unhappy with us for the low prices.
Oh, what a great idea. Well, here's a question. You have to have started your own Wine of the Month Club, haven't you?
We do have a Wine of the Month Club, yes. It's a 3 package. We'll do it in 3, 6, or 12, but mostly people order 3s. Some people will order the 6s, but yes, we do a Wine of the Month Club.
Well, this is wonderful. We've got to wrap this up, but where can our listeners find more about your accidental wine company and how to get involved?
It's accidentalwine.com.
All right. You can't have more straightforward than that.
No, we can't.
All right. Well, David, thank you very much for being part of the Crush, and I would love to stay in touch with you. And I bet you have some really interesting horror stories to tell, so you're going to have to come back on the Crush at some point.
I'd love to do that.
All right.